Yesterday, the GLIAC officially welcomed a new member, making Roosevelt University the 11th member school in the conference. Roosevelt is located in downtown Chicago, and his teams will begin GLIAC competition this fall.
We can get right into it. I mean, Roosevelt University, like I'll tell you, between us, I don't know about Jimmy, you being from down there, but I didn't know anything about it. And then I see this news that, you know, potentially they're going to be the next team in the conference. Learning that it was right in downtown Chicago was really cool, but I guess just from you, right off the bat, what made them a great fit for what we have going on here in the GLIAC?
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned it. They're downtown Chicago. They will be the first Division II school in Chicago, right? So they're in a good spot as far as our footprint goes. And when you look around the landscape of where we are and who's around us, if we want to try to add teams, again, I talked about it a little bit last time. It's hard to get teams to want to schedule against you guys. So the way that we kind of fix that is to expand, right? We want to add teams, and Roosevelt, great university. They're in a really good spot, right? They've got a pretty solid enrollment, and they've been around for a while. And great president, great AD, great athletics programs, and we are certainly excited to get them in the fold. They'll be members here on our 2024 schedules. They'll be incorporated into those.
In July of 2023, Roosevelt University set its sights on being the newest NCAA Division II institution, beginning a process that would hopefully culminate in Roosevelt's full NCAA Division II status being cemented by the end of the 2025-2026 school year. The Lakers would be stepping into the Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, or the GLIAC, said to be one of the stronger NCAA Division II conferences. While competing in all traditional athletic sports, Roosevelt also had the opportunity to join the GLIAC's Esports conference as well, where Lakers Esports would compete each year against collegiate powerhouse programs such as Davenport University, Purdue Northwest University, and Michigan Tech University. The Lakers Esports League of Legends team competed in their first GLIAC LAN tournament in February of 2025 at PNW's West Campus, hoping to make waves in their first official GLIAC matches.
So Saturday morning, we woke up bright and early to head over to Purdue Northwest campus in northern Indiana. We were set up to play with a different roster than usual due to our athletic conference's eligibility rules. So we ended up having Ruben, or Tickle, play as our AD carry going into the tournament. So very excited to have him back, unretire for a little second. And then we also got to have Intra or Carlos set up to play top lane for us. It's a role that he's never really played in competitive. He's always been our jungler, but between him and Camden, it made the most sense for him to play top lane. And then we had Camden in jungle, myself playing mid, and Jeremy or Garzone playing support. So a very different roster from our regular season, a roster that we definitely knew that we could make waves in, which works considering there's so many Lakers at that tournament. Despite the fact that he couldn't play, JJ or Luna still wanted to be part of the team because, he loves us and he wanted to make sure that his presence was still felt. So he was our boots on the ground, making sure that everybody was taken care of in between games, making sure we had our water, making sure we were fed. So I really appreciate him helping out despite the fact that, he wouldn't be able to play top lane for us in this tournament. Going into round one, we're expected to only play one best of 3 day one. It was just win that best of 3 and we can come home the next day and play out the rest of the bracket. Lose and our run in the single elimination bracket is done. So kind of a make or break series. However, our team definitely didn't feel that way going into it, and we definitely felt very overconfident going into it. We were facing Grand Valley State University, and we kind of took them at face value, just looking at OP.GGs and thinking that we knew how good they were, and knowing ourselves, we didn't really prep for it. So we walk into game one, we just do our thing, and we actually get blown out of the water. We lose we lose game one in a match that we feel should never be close. And our director only has some words to say there. As the captain, there's always some times where I feel like I don't have all the answers, and especially concerning the fact that I was playing in that same match. I felt a bit lost. I think I was definitely rattled as a player because it was my first showing as a mid laner again after the fall semester. So I felt a little embarrassed to be losing that game thinking that I didn't do enough of my job as a mid laner. So when John stepped in with a talk that was definitely necessary, I think he came with a firmer tone than we're used to hearing from him. You know, he's a good friend to us when we need it, but in that moment we didn't need a friend. We needed someone to remind us why we're there.
Headsets off right now. Take your headset off. Everybody take your headsets off. You too. Take your headsets off. Be honest. Be honest about what just went wrong. The only way we lose is if we win against that team. They're hugging each other right now. What? They're hugging each other. It's a best of 3. They're hugging each other because we never should have lost them. So what went wrong?
I think our calls, mainly my calls, were for a game plan that was hard to execute, that we were not good at doing, and their comp was a lot easier to execute, and we probably should have just gone with what more Cameron was trying to do, which was just brute force 5v5. But I think, yeah.
I think if we put Fiora on the soul fight, I think that was our chance to win, because they kind of outscale us 5v5, and that was our last chance where we had a winning fight. And after that, it was like they were kind of just stronger in the team fight.
We're there to be competitors, and so having John step in was definitely necessary. He told us that basically we needed to ensure that we didn't lose round 1 and that we actually found our way back the next day, because if we lost that one of the next 2 games, then we would have gone first rounded in a tournament that we thought that we were at least slated to go pretty far in, considering we got the 3rd seed before the bracket. So we knew that we needed to fix some stuff up and get back in there. Games 2 and 3, there's a lot more of a simple story where we drafted a lot more of a style that is easy to execute on, a style that we're familiar with because we know how we like to play with Tickle. We know how we like to play from years of me mid lane, and so we didn't pull out any of the tricks. We just got back to what we're good at doing.
Let's go.
Who wasn't Thanos right there? 4-0, 8-0, 4-0.
My name is Camden Peters. We're at the GLIAC LAN, and we just won 2-1 versus GVSU. And yeah, the game was a little bit rough, but we managed to pull it out. So yeah, so we lost game 1, mostly because our team comp was much harder to play than the opponents, and it kind of required us to play super well, and we made a few mistakes, and those mistakes made it easy for them to play the game. So we focused on drafting easy comps to play for the next 2 games, kind of similar to what they did in game 1, and it worked really well. It made it a lot easier for us, and it was good, so yeah.
After the win, we were good to go home, so we knew that we did our job for that day at least and made sure that we can come back next day. We got there even earlier than Saturday, so had to pick up some food. We were all fueled up. We made our way to the Indiana campus again, and there we were facing Davenport University round 1. The Davenport series, first game we won. We won it pretty handily. I think we drafted the champions that we wanted to see. I was a bit of a karma merchant that series.
So game 1, we felt pretty confident because we got Skarner, Jinx, and Gallia was sort of like the mainstay champions for what we're playing so far. Game 2, they kind of threw in a bit of a flex pick with Draven and Vayne. We weren't entirely sure where either of those were going in the lane. However, we should have known, historically speaking, this guy is a tank top player. He'll be playing Sion. So what ended up picking Sona on R5, what ended up happening is Draven ended up covering for the mistakes, or like, not mistakes, but weaknesses for Vayne early on. Bot lane, sort of scuttle fights, any sort of like early moves, because he had priority over the Gallia in mid lane, and they ended up scaling faster and stronger than us. And if you see a Vayne who is really fit with an Enchanter, you really can't stop that, especially when the rest of the team is basically also down 10,000 gold. At that point, the game just kind of got out of control, and it was just a matter of which AD carry can snowball faster and harder, and theirs ended up doing it before ours did. Game 3, they effectively went the same exact draft, but the difference was we ended up picking Karma and Lulu in the first phase, and then they responded with a Lucian pick middle, which wasn't a very good counter pick. It was basically kind of hard countered by our Sejuani jungle, a strong tank, and Jarvan jungle. Who's a really strong, like, sort of engaged fighter. And what ended up happening is we blew his flash early, re-gank middle, got a kill off that, slowly snowballed off that way. And then there was a lot of skirmishes that ended up going really well for us. Off that, having just Karma and Lulu that's doing strong, good shielding, and then Jarvan kind of like being a strong BP frontliner. As the game progressed, Vayne did start to get a bit stronger. Basically walked towards blue side red buff, got caught out, gave a shutdown, and then we just slowly took more objectives, got things leads off that. And then eventually the combination of having Ornn, Jarvan engage, followed by Lulu, they basically couldn't get past our front line. We were out DPS than them. We got our picks, got our team fights going, secure Atacon, and just getting more gold, and eventually we just ended up beating them with our money bag. It was basically the same situation as game 1, where our AD carry, our hyper carry was stronger, had better support. We out team fight them and just win the game off that.
In our first showing of the GLIAC, we were able to make top 2 versus Purdue Northwest. So I'd say that our director and our athletics directors were very happy to see that we were able to make it that far. And so we were slated to go into a match versus Purdue Northwest, a roster that we definitely respect. We've seen them around. We've seen how they do in the MEC. We've seen how they've made deep runs into the CLOL top 32 bracket before. So we knew that there weren't going to be any slouches, and we knew that it was a series that we'd actually have to prep for, which was a bit rough because we had to go into that series directly after our series win. And considering we had a 3-game series, they had a much longer break than we did because they 2-0'd their opponents in semis. So we definitely a bit tired, but as competitors, you just got to keep going on, keep taking the challenges on as they present themselves to you. So we sat down, immediately had to face Purdue Northwest. You know, we're talking about it like this is going to be a good series. We're talking about it like knowing that there are keys to success that we can replicate and continue to make work as we've done in the previous series. And then we got O2'd. Yeah, not much to say about that series. We got pretty exposed in our solo lanes pretty quickly. There were a few flashes of, oh, maybe this game's winnable. Maybe this game's winnable. No, it's not. They just team fought us and aced us like 5-0. I don't know if this is actually winnable. But I can say that Ijun really showed me a lot of things that I got to work on my laning. A lot of misconceptions that I had about how I knew how to play laning phase. But it was a pretty brief affair. While it was pretty disheartening to lose to PNW in such a quick fashion, you know, immediately getting to see them hoist a trophy right after they beat us, it was really nice to be able to say that out of the GLIAC 7 teams that showed up for League, we were top 2, you know, we were right there, right behind PNW. But still proud of the roster, still proud of the team that we fielded, considering the fact that I don't think we practiced with that roster once before that LAN. It was just show up and day of, let's see how we perform. So definitely proud of the guys. They showed a really good resolve on how to bounce back after the losses in both the Grand Valley State series and the Davenport University series. So I'm very proud of my team. As always, I'm proud of them of how they demonstrate and show that they are competitors. So very happy about how that LAN went personally.